Not too bad. Thanks for coming on. So for those that don't know you, do you want to give a brief explanation or just a brief synopsis of your illustrious Quidditch career over the
Sure.
years?
So I started playing Quidditch in 2013 with the Waterloo Ridgebacks. I played with them for 6 years, and I was captain for them for 3. Then after that, I played a year with the Mississauga Manatees, and then COVID hit and ruined everything.
Yeah. It's a good way to put it.
Yeah. I'm also, I think, I'm not sure, but I think I was the first fully certified rep and snitch at the same time.
Yeah.
So there you go.
I've always joked you're also like the Swiss Army, true Swiss Army knife. I believe like you have played at every position, like as equally as possible, more than anyone else. Like no one else has the distribution. Like I played like 98% of my time as a keeper, and like 2% just as a case of coming off a penalty or something, right?
Yeah.
You are the closest person to like the true 25 split that I've ever seen.
Probably
Well,
player position in the same game.
When you have for Waterloo, basically the 3 years that I was captain, every year we get like a whole new batch of people. So when you're constantly going through like new people all the time, you're playing every single position just so, because you're like you're watching from the side after playing for so long, and you're like, damn, why is this person so stupid? And you just have to go in and do it yourself, even if you don't really know like what you're doing yourself. You just got to give it your best shot. So.
I can do that. Yeah, I can do that.
I can do that. I can definitely do it better than whatever they're
By
doing.
far.
So, yeah.
Great. So yeah, like I was saying, our episode topic for this week is going to be fun Quidditch stories, whether it be from road trips, from socials that go on, from playing the sport, etc. So yeah, we wanted to have you on to kind of see some of this or hear from some of the stories that you might have from your experiences.
So, my top one, this is the one I always think back to, is back in, I think it was 2016, when regionals was in Montreal, and we were staying at, me and Courtney were staying at Rithy's place, Rithy's flat, and after the tournament, Quidditch Canada, they rented out a bar, and everyone was at the bar for a while and whatever, and then when it finally became time to leave, Courtney and I ordered an Uber to come and get us. Uber comes up, and he's deaf, and he only understands French. And what we wanted to communicate to him is that we had to go to another bar to pick up Rick and then go to his flat, right? So the guy comes, he says, don't speak English, and I'm like, okay. And then we go and we get to the bar, and we're sitting out there after we texted Ricky for probably like 10 or 15 minutes in the back of this guy's car, and he keeps looking back at us, being like, are you gonna get out? And we just keep on putting like our hand out, like just a couple more minutes, like we're sorry. He doesn't understand what's happening. And then Rithy comes out with this girl who's just completely gone, just like out of her mind, gone. He comes out with this girl, and they get into the cab, and the guy's looking at me like, what's going on? And I said, Rithy, he only speaks French. I don't, like, he doesn't understand what we're saying. And he's like, okay, I got you. Tells the guy, like, texts him, says this is what's going on, and then off we go. And then out of his backpack that Rithy had brought into him with this in this club, he pulls out like a 60 of Nutri-Grainers from his backpack, and he starts handing it out to everyone. And like the Uber driver just casually, yeah, sure, takes it, starts eating it, and the girl takes one. And when we hit the highway, that's when the girl opens up the door while we're on the highway, and she sticks her head out, and she starts throwing up outside of the car door.
No.
And the guy really calmly just pulls over, lets her finish, and all I hear Rithy say in French is blah 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 blah, ferme la porte. He's just like, shut the door after you're done. And I was like, what the fuck? And no one seemed the least bit concerned about this except Courtney and I. And ride goes fine back there. I give him like a $20 tip, and I'm like, 5-star review. I'm sorry. Get out. And then all we hear for the rest of the night is just that girl puking her mind for like the next 2 or 3 hours.
Oh, that's awful. It blows my mind that the cab driver, like, obviously, if you guys were in Montreal, they mainly spoke French. That's completely normal. But the fact they were also deaf, it's like, oh my god, I think the immediate realization if I was in the cab with you, I would be like, I don't know what to do. I
don't know what to do.
Yeah.
These two weirdos are just in the back of our car. Goddamn English. Won't leave. And then Riffy came out, and it just escalated from there. It was great. It's always a fond memory that we have looking back on that. And whenever you're involved with like Montreal in any kind of way, there's always, you know, something that's kind of going to happen. Like another thing was that after a Guelph tournament one time, I don't know if you remember this. We drove straight that morning to Guelph, played the whole tournament, and then they were driving back to Montreal.
I think I've heard that before.
Yeah, so they did at the Guelph tournament, and the thing I remember is after they all got back in the car, and that's when they were wearing like those pink like tights. All of them would wear like those pink like spandex like underwear or whatever over top of their stuff. There's two Montreal cars, and then in the middle was a third, and the two cars on the side were taking turns hitting the car and just laughing hysterically while they're going back and forth. I don't know. That's just in my mind. That's just always, you know, French Canadians are just UDM. They like define what's French Canadian to me. That's always what I think.
Wait. So they like pushed this car. They weren't crashing the car. They like got out and like pushed the car around.
No, like they were in their cars and they were hitting the car in the middle on either side,
like
just
bumper cars?
hysterically laughing, like bumper cars, just hysterically laughing. And the guy couldn't move because if he went forward, he was just gonna go back in his parking spot, and if he went back, he was gonna hit another car. So he just had to sit there while people were just banging on his cars from side to side. Yeah.
Wait, what? Oh my god, I'm so confused.
Yeah, leave it to you, yeah.
Oh my god.
What?
I was assuming we were going to describe them doing like a 2-car fire drill. Which,
No.
Which like everyone gets out and swamps
it's just cars.
the other car.
No.
Oh my god.
They were hitting the car in the middle with both their cars, and obviously the people in the car couldn't get out because they were hitting the doors of the car, so they just had to sit there. And everyone thought it was hilarious, and the thing that I always find hysterical is that Emma was like the captain of like this wild team, and she's like so reserved compared to most of them. It's just hilarious. It's just, I don't know, it's just out of this world.
Wow.
No.
If we had an animator and we were some big budget podcast, I would love for what you just described to be animated somehow.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I'm stunned.
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
So what happened to the car? Like, did it get damaged?
No, it didn't take any damage. I think they're just like maybe light denting, but it was just a little like clunk, like all you could hear was just a little clunk, 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 clunk as it kept going back and forth.
Hope those weren't rentals.
No, they're definitely not rentals. No.
Oh my god.
Wow. Lost word there.
Yeah.
Moral of the story, don't drive next to DDM players, or now Flamingo players.
Yeah. And then the final one I've got was we would do keggers to fundraise for Waterloo Quidditch. And one thing that happened one night when we were doing this is I put on like one of like our really new players, and it was a big mistake because she bent the tap the wrong way, so it broke off. Right? And it had just like reached midnight and everyone was like asking for their drinks or whatever. Tap was in. So what we had to do is we cut the tap, and someone had to put their finger over it while the other person pumped to build up pressure, and then they would use that to pour it out. But then while that was happening, because I never drink at the keggers because I'm always too stressed out because I'm like, fuck, I need to make my money back, I took my car and I drove around to every bar in downtown Waterloo, going in, asking if they had an extra tap that I could buy off of them, and they would all look at you like you're absolutely insane. They're like, what the hell are you talking about? No, like, we don't have that. So eventually I got in contact with my roommate whose cousin was in a frat, and it showed up at his frat, and I asked him for a tap, and I was able to grab that and then go back and save everything. But that's my most stressful Quidditch moment of my life, where I'm like, oh fuck, everyone's gonna ask for their money back, and maybe like $500. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, good thing.
The illustrious life of Jon Keates.
Hey, you got one responsible person out there making sure the and like the enjoyment of everyone is being enjoyed.
I just want to have I want to make sure I make my money back. I don't care if anyone likes it or not. I just want my money back. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. Great stories. I still can't get over the Montreal story.
Yeah,
I just like both Montreal. I'm not even surprised. Like I mean, we see it all the time at tournaments, right? Where they have like those like cheers and all that kind of stuff. And I think it was Felix. I remember my first tournament. He wasn't. I'm pretty sure it's Felix, the guy who would always puke. We just call him the puker.
Yes.
Because like before games, he would just always puke. And I remember my first year, like just constantly seeing this guy puke. I'm like, this guy's gonna have nothing left in his stomach. Like he just constantly was puking, and I'm like, dude, like. But
he's
oh
still
man,
the fastest guy on the field. Too.
I know, and he would puke, and then he would just tear it up on the field. It's crazy.
Yeah. Puke and rally, the embodiment.
Oh,
Yeah.
Wow, awesome. So yeah, thanks Keates so much for coming on and telling those stories. That's definitely some memorable stories, and hopefully your fans get a kick out of the stories as well. And yeah, we'd love to have you back on the podcast another time.
Right.
We'll share more incriminating evidence again.
Yeah.
Oh,